And you've just heard Astronaut in Comparison, which is the latest single from Julia's Bureau. And I'm so pleased to be joined by singer and guitarist Euan from the band. Hello, Euan.
Hi Ali, how you doing?
I'm really well. What can you tell us about Astronaut in Comparison before we get on to everything else?
Yeah, it's okay. So I'm gonna sound really, really earnest, and it's gonna set a bad precedent. But yeah, astronaut comparisons about I mean, it's about love, but it's about the insecurity of it, and it's about the it's just about sort of feeling inadequate and hoping that you're not lowering the other person's living standards by association. So yeah, it's just about being in awe and wondering kind of what that means and your impact on someone really. It's a love song, but it's a very kind of I don't know, is cloaked in doubt and a little bit of shame, which is I don't know. I think that sums me up as a person quite well.
Almost like a kind of imposter syndrome in a relationship.
Exactly that, yeah. And yeah, I had just had this phrase, astronaut in comparison, kind of bouncing around in my head. I was like, what does that mean? So yeah, I was just sort of interrogating that and looking at my partner and going, well, you're wonderful. What does that mean? So yeah, yeah.
It's interesting. I get a lot of emails from bands like yourself saying, letting us know about the new music, but yours was one of the more arresting because the first sentence was, "Love is wonderful and it's horrifying." I thought, oh,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, I've got to talk to these guys.
No, but yeah, yeah.
Which
I'm
is kind
glad.
of absolutely sums it up. It absolutely sums it up. You're never at your most probably alive, but also most vulnerable as when you're in that situation.
100%, yeah, yeah. And I'm glad you said that actually, because I've been really working on our press releases, so yeah, it's good to know. But yeah, no, that's exactly it. I wish I'd kind of worked that in as a lyric. Actually, it was better than anything I thought of for the actual song. But what can you do? It's done now.
And in terms of astronaut in comparison, it is just that, I should that's the kind of greatness you should be going for in a relationship.
Yeah, it's seeing someone who's really sort of it's the kind of who live in a very kind of ambitious and brave and very determined way, and just sort of thinking, feeling like one of the people sort of watching the space launch, I guess, and being like, none of them would ever talk to me. They're so impressive, kind of thing. So yeah, it's just it's about awe and insecurity are kind of the main themes.
And it's the second single from an EP. Now, tell us
Mhm.
about the EP and what we can expect from it.
Yeah, so it's a three-track EP called "An Introduction to Julia's Bureau." We've been it's been in the post for quite a long time. We've been going a wee while now, and yeah, so it includes a previous single we've done called "Capital Offense," and then there's a third song on it called "Savior Complex." And yeah, so we recorded that in March with Ronan Fay at a Green Door Studio, who is an absolute genius of a guy. It's we were so happy with how it came out. It was a sort of mixture of songs we've been working on for years and others that were really really new. And yeah, I think it pretty much encapsulates what we sound like live. I think it does. I maybe I'm probably a bit well no I'm significantly sloppier live, but it sounds like the room it's
Yeah.
recorded in, which is a big thing for me. And yeah, it came out exactly the way we wanted it to. So yeah, we were dead happy with it. So that'll come out in September.
That line caught my attention in your email as well, because you said obviously you want to work with someone who you're happy with, but also in a room that you're comfortable in. And does
Mhm.
that make a difference, the actual physical space when you're recording?
Yeah, absolutely. I reckon so. I'm in another band called Wendell Borton, and the recording process we've had with that band was in a very different kind of studio setup, and it really, really worked for the album that we ended up doing, Big Love. And it's just I used to hate recording. I used to despise recording. I found it. I think because I'd been in bands when I was younger. I just never. I mean, until I worked with a couple of folk, it never really came out the way I wanted it to, and so I found it difficult. And then kind of it was only later on I appreciated the work that goes into it, and little bits and pieces of engineering knowledge. I'm not anywhere near what a producer does or an engineer does, but I've started to understand the process a bit more. And you know, I think the room that you recorded in lends itself so well to the space. I've recorded in studios that are bigger, and you're in a different room from the rest of your band, and it can feel quite isolated, and you get a really good sound out of that, no question. But it's a very different atmosphere to being in Green Door and us all being in close proximity and doing our takes, within short distance of each other, trying to do a lot of live dubbing, a lot of live recording and then dubbing over that. And yeah, it sounds like that room to me, and there's a lot of really good records that have come out of that room. So that was, I was essentially trying to rip off bands I like a lot more.
Feel the magic in the room that was kind of
out
of it. But was that a decision to record as live almost? Because I think sometimes people have this idea, they've seen footage of people, the drummer takes about 8 hours to lay down the drums and, all that kind of stuff. And people are in separate booths and doing separate things. But you felt we're going to, because it sounds like the songs I've heard, the tracks I've heard, they do sound live in inverted commas.
Yeah. I just think stylistically for me, in terms of our, the initial kind of set of songs that we do, I think that I want to reflect how they were written, and they were written in very sort of kind of low stakes kind of. They're all essentially all these songs were kind of written in my living room or in a comfortable environment, and I kind of wanted it to come across. It's not. These aren't songs that require immense instrumentation. They're very, very stripped back, and I didn't necessarily want to add too many bells and whistles to this. I mean, hopefully there's this time in the future where I become a much better songwriter and it requires, or an orchestra or something, but that's just it's not anywhere near where I'm at just now. So I kind of like to have a very real representation of what these songs sound like live and how they were written and conceived by the band. So that's just kind of how I prefer recording, really.
And we're going to play the first single, Capital Offence, in a moment or later on, which is, for me, it's a heavier sound than Astronaut in comparison. And I was wondering, is there a Julius Bureau sound, do you think?
Spiteful and spiteful and insecure. I guess our sound is the beauty of the rest of the band and the people that I work with now are just like, there's so many kind of disparate influences there. I mean, I'm essentially trying to rip off like people like Alex Chilton and Jerry Love and these kind of people, and our guitarist Tom, who I write most of the songs with. I'll take an idea to him, and then he'll write the most amazing guitar part on top of it. His favorite band is Thin Lizzy, so and we've got a bassist who I couldn't tell you a lot of the time what music he likes. He'll come in with something that he'll talk about enjoying X and Y album. I'll just be like, I did not expect you to say that. And then our drummer Thomas is he's got a very wide range of influence as well, and he produces under the names Erskine Linus and Tam. So I mean, his musical palette's all over the place as well. So I like to think our sound is a product of for people who aren't necessarily sure what they're trying to achieve. So it's I think that comes across. But yeah, I mean, we're just trying to make songs that like have memorable lyrics and hooks in them, I want the songs to kind of speak for themselves. I want people to come away understanding what the message is, and hopefully they're delivered in a way that people enjoy.
So how do the band work? Do you write the songs and take them to the band, or what's the process like?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not. I don't think I'm charismatic enough to really, really nail the kind of instructing other people. So there's a lot of kind of cross pollination of things and ideas. But no, I mean, yeah, I'll write the skeleton of a song and I'll take it to practice, and there've been occasions where I've worked with Tom first and we've fleshed out a song together, and then we take that to the practice room and it becomes the kind of full thing. Other times, I mean, songs are written completely on the fly. Capital Offence just sort of came about in about half an hour, whereas Astronaut in comparison has taken me. It's genuinely taken years to get it to where it is now, and it's a really quite straightforward song, but there's just bits of it and lines in it that I just kind of obsessed over, and I didn't. I would play it live, and there was a couple of versions of it live that I was just like, okay, I don't know. So yeah, it's.
Is that because it's personal to you that you want to get this right?
Yeah. I'm that obsessive that I'll, if there's a line that doesn't quite work, or if there's a lyric that I'm not quite comfortable with, I'll know, well, it'll bug me forever if it's recorded. So, yeah. Whereas other songs are a bit more immediate and they come to you really quickly, and it's just like, well, this says everything I wanted to. So,
I never thought about that, but if it's a song that means a lot to you and you record it and you know in your heart it's not quite right, then it's, I was going to say in aspect, but you know what I mean? It's there for good. It's kind of, yeah, unless you, of
yeah.
course, you do it, you decide to skip it all and do another version.
Well, yeah, that's expensive though. So
I know, yeah. And we haven't asked where the name of the band this comes from. Where's Julia's Bureau?
Also, Julia's Bureau, I was watching this documentary about a journalist called W.T. Stead, and he was this revolutionary journalist who, I'm from a journalism background myself, so that's what I studied. So, yeah, he was this journalist who basically, he uncovered working conditions in Victorian workhouses and that kind of thing, and he had run-ins with the law and had all, he basically exposed kind of what was legal in terms of child labor and in terms of working conditions, all this thing. Really pioneering working class hero. But then he got into like occultism when he was in prison, and he had this journalist friend called Julia Ames from America, and they both got into this kind of sort of spiritualistic writing where they just, I believe it's called channeling, where you just basically, you're kind of absent for the act of writing, and you're just writing what comes to you, and it's someone else's voice and all this stuff. And it's so W.T. Stead started a newspaper in her honor, and it was called Julia's Bureau, and it was basically like the undead coming to life through prose, which I thought was like, I just thought it was a cool name, and then I realized it would make us sound like massive goths, which I'm not against.
No.
But yeah. So.
I didn't. That's a fantastic answer. I kind of thought, oh, well, my Aunt Julia had this bureau when I was a kid. Oh, that's fantastic. I was going to ask you about influences, but you've already kind of said slightly unexpectedly. Thin Lizzy kind of guitar. I was a big Lizzy fan when I was young. The dueling guitars were a big part of kind of what Lizzy does.
Yeah.
But it sounds that going back to the idea of Julia's Bureau having their own sound. Everyone kind of understands how you sound, I guess, when you go to play together. Does that come through playing live?
Yeah, I think it does. Yeah, I mean, you sort of, I don't know, there's this sort of kind of nervous, frantic energy I have versus like Tom's unbelievable guitar work. Is I sometimes catch myself getting lost in songs because I'm watching him. And like, yeah, Tam and Gav are just so kind of reliable that it's like, yeah, I mean, I think in terms of a sound, I mean, we're pretty obviously in debt to a lot of kind of like college radio stuff from early 90s and late 80s America. I mean, like REM and are a big influence. And I mean, there's stuff like Teenage Fan Club and Sebadoh, and then like, I mean, there's the stuff that influenced them. So I'm a big fan of Big Star, but also like I really, there's a lot of kind of Scottish folk and Irish folk music that I really like, and yeah, so it's just trying to sort of, I don't consciously write something like, with the aim of ripping it off. Well, most of the time I don't. But yeah, it's just kind of this kind of strange mix of things. Yeah, I think our influence is more just like professional jealousy and spite and seeing other bands doing really well. That's what
you'll be surprised. Well, maybe you wouldn't be surprised how often that. And also, I remember talking to a drummer fairly recently. I say recently, in the last 6 months, and they had a kind of guest star on guitar, and he said, "I forgot I was just watching the guitarist playing while I was drumming, but totally lost what he was doing."
Absolutely. If there's anything you take away from this, is you should come see us live just to watch Tom. Don't you can disregard me. That's fine. But like,
well, let's talk about playing live. Have you got plans to do that? Have you got stuff coming up?
Yeah, I mean, yeah. There's an EP launch I need to book. Hopefully, by the time this goes out, there's a few things announced. But yeah, I mean, we've talked to a few other bands that we like, and yeah, hopefully you'll hear some news by the time this goes out.
Okay, well, just let me know, and if there is news, I'll share it with the listeners.
Brilliant, thank you.
And we're just about to hear Capital Offence. What can you tell us about that track that you haven't told us already?
Aye, so yeah, it was about this. So I don't know if you remember, this story came out last year about Scottish students at Edinburgh Uni had to basically start their own kind of support network because they were getting bullied for having Scottish accents.
Yeah.
And it's not by any means like a sort of jingoistic or it's certainly not like a sort of patriotic kind of response to that, but it's just about class and entitlement and about where when I tried to get into the mindset of people like my sister and a few of my friends who went to kind of the Russell Group unis and felt really out of place, even though it should feel like home. And so I was kind of inspired by that, and that song was kind of a result of it.
That's interesting because it's certainly an angrier sounding song than what we heard at the start.
Mm-hmm.
Euan, thanks so much for taking the time to talk to me. The tracks I've heard sound great. Can't wait to hear the EP as a whole. And actually, before we split, what can you tell us? Any future plans? You've got this 3-track EP. Do you have any plans to do more anytime soon, or is that just a kind of for now?
Yeah, I mean, I sort of see this EP as a way of kind of bookending the first stage of the band, I guess. And we've got a bunch of songs that we're slowly putting more, an album and a half's worth together. But yeah, I mean, it's got to be a constant kind of evolution, and I'm excited to see what the four of us can do next. I definitely want to have a record out every next year, or at the very late. I mean, knowing us, it'll be a while after that. But yeah, that's definitely kind of the next steps in the album for sure.
Well, Euan, thanks again. And this is Julia's Bureau and Capital Offence.